probably the most important thing that it has to deal with is quality. Because, historically, something like this, where it comes from, a specific orientation, I guess you could say, because of their like political leaning and that being the reason that they're making this show, inherently things like quality tend to be overlooked. And so you're not going to have the level of quality that HBO can give to a Game of Thrones. Hello, welcome to the HolmFront, where we keep everything objectively subjective. I'm Tyler, your host, and to my right, as always, is Mitch, my overly artistic friend. Okay.
Here we are.
We are.
So we reviewed the DailyWire's TV show Pendragon, just the trailer before, and we were like, could be interesting.
Trailer looked like, it had some promise.
Mm-hmm.
Which other films from the Daily Wire seem to have had. We just actually watched another trailer, the Lady Ballers one.
Mm-hmm.
The comedy of the film seemed like it would do well, but the movie itself did not deliver.
No,
so
I saw like a parts of it, and I was like, "Ew, this sucks."
Yeah.
But the trailer made it look really funny.
Right. So I was apprehensive, and if you refer back to the trailer react, I was like, this probably is going to not do well in quality. I was
right. And you're right.
So,
why don't you give us a synopsis? What is the show about?
Yeah, so jumping in, let's start beginning.
Keep in mind, we're just reviewing the first two episodes today.
Right.
They released those, so we just watched them both. Here are our thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll do the synopsis real quick. It's a stranger that arrives on a small boat going down the river. It's picked up by what I believe to be druids. Now, the book probably explains this. This is one of the problems of the show, by the way. It's a group of people that they do not explain who they are, where they're from, what they're doing. Some guy's going through some weird test or something, and I don't understand why or what is happening with him. They claim he's cursed and stuff, but he's the one that pulls the boat out of the water and apparently claims the child therein, his son. So then the story progresses to then they meet a group of Atlanteans and child, Taliesin, falls in love with the Atlantean princess. Now, that's just kind of like the baseline that everything flows off of, but
I love how it's filled with confusion.
It's
and
very, very
little footnotes. I got a better one for you. The synopsis is the first two episodes are just establishing the birth of Merlin.
Right.
That's it.
So episode
it's a ton of characters who are going to have nothing to do with anything for the most part. And then Merlin is born, and then it jumps ahead 75 years to when Merlin is an adult. The end.
Which is where episode 2 leaves off. And that's all we have at the moment.
Yes.
So, okay.
So, in other words, it took a very long time.
2 hours.
It's so long. It's so poorly paced. Okay, so are we just getting into spoilers, or do we have top-level stuff to say? I don't recommend. This is very slow and tedious.
Yeah, so
there's some redeemable elements, but not a lot.
Yes. I'm wondering if maybe episode 3 will allow more redeemable qualities to come about. Mm-hmm. But herein lies the problem. So, as a general overview, before we get into too many spoilers, and I don't think I spoiled anything with episode 2 being the birth of Merlin. Like, I didn't give anything else away.
To be fair, I was the one who said it.
Fair.
Come after me.
I don't think that wasn't that much of a spoiler. So before we get into all of the spoilers, what I will say, this did not get into the actual story of Merlin. It's just how he came about. So
right.
The problem therein lies that this show has already started twice. Started once with the baby coming down the stream and landing, mm-hmm. and then it bumped forward like 18 years or whatever to now, Taliesin's story. But now that this has happened after episode 2, episode 3 is going to be the start of another show again.
Right.
Now it's going to be Merlin's show.
Main character. Yeah, now it's Merlin's. Because we were just following this other character, his dad, for 2 episodes. And we were like, okay, I guess he's the main character. And then it ended with saying, nope. Never mind, forget about him. It's about Merlin now. So it feels like all of that should have just been recapped in like 1 episode, just kind of going through the major important plot points.
I think we'll do like a HolmFront fixes at the end and kind of figure out how better to have done this. But
okay.
my point here is that one, it's a primary problem with the show is that it doesn't seem to know, it doesn't have its footing out the gate, and so it's really stumbling around because they don't know what they're telling. The second problem is that we haven't actually seen the show because we're jumping into the main character finally after 2 episodes. So it might get better. I don't know. But that's the problem, is that you had 2 episodes and you haven't established a firm footing.
Yeah.
Do you have any other general notes? And then we'll just cut into spoilers.
I will say that I similarly want to share your belief that it could get better because it finally reached that point where now we have the option for forward momentum.
Yeah.
I understand why they must have felt like for the first 2 episodes they don't have that because it is just origin stuff. But the fact that they allowed the origin stuff to prolong for such an exhaustively long time makes me not confident that they know what they're doing at all, among the many other problems that we will also discuss.
Right. I will say, okay, so just simply to push back on your point before we move on.
Okay.
What I will say is that now that they've gone into Merlin, they will hopefully have to focus all of their attention on a singular character. That's the only hope it has.
Yeah.
If it does just focus on one person and his development, I think that if that's all that they build off of, they have a chance.
Yeah, and I will say to their credit, they have, so Brett Cooper is in the show, but she wasn't in the first 2 episodes. She comes in later because she's interacts with Merlin. We watched a clip of and just seeing her briefly, I was like, she has a lot of energy with her. That would really help.
Yes.
Is someone to walk on the stage and just be like, I'm a ball of energy to inject into this.
Let's move forward.
It's like, all right.
Fair. I hope so. Okay, so with that, let's just jump into spoilers. We'll get into everything. There's our general thoughts. You said you wouldn't recommend it. I think that there are some things that are decent about it. Overall, not really.
You could start with episode 3, I'll bet.
You probably could.
I bet you just start with that and just go. You'll be fine.
You probably could. I as we watched it, I said you probably could have already started with episode 2. You should have just crammed all this stuff together and just made it one. But we'll get into that later. So all that to say, there's a general thoughts. We're moving into spoilers. Okay. All right. Rise of the Merlin. I want to start with a thought or with a point that this has been in years of production. This was supposed to have released a year and a half ago. There's a whole kinds of notes and stuff, and then there was all kinds of drama that happened with Jeremy Boring himself. Finally, this is being released.
What kind of drama?
With Jeremy Boring?
Did it have to do with women?
It actually did.
Oh, I'm shocked. What a surprise.
Okay, so not to make this political, but there was a huge thing that happened with the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder, and it shined a big light on Jeremy Boring. Jeremy Boring tried to come out and defend himself with some of this stuff. Now, I have thoughts on the matter. That's not what this episode's about. The second thing that happened was Candace Owens. Famously was part of the Daily Wire, had a huge falling out that was not explained, but a lot of people had theories. And that was that Jeremy Boring and Candace Owens did not get along, and they had differing beliefs on Israel specifically.
Okay.
The third thing that happened was the mysterious firing of Brett Cooper.
Right.
Where they had a mysterious falling out. Now, there wasn't a whole lot said there either because she was tamped down. She was not allowed to say anything. Neither was Candace Owens. They were not allowed to speak about what happened. But then Jeremy Boring mysteriously stepped down about 6 months later. Something weird was going on there. Everyone was speculating, was this because of all the drama that was happening in the background? Candace Owens was throwing a stink. We don't know. Ends up that Ben Shapiro, another face of the Daily Wire, came out and said, no, he stepped down in order to work on this project, on the Rise of Merlin. Now, that's somewhat feasible considering how expensive this probably was for this company. But I have other theories that probably had to do with the fact that he seems like a jerk. He probably just did not respect the people around him. He was probably a rough boss, specifically towards the women of the industry, the only 2 that they hired. Yeah, he had problems with. This weird, really weird. Anyway,
we should probably give context as to why, because I don't know much about this Jeremy Boring person. He sounds very boring, though. And based on his content, that verifies it. But there is one element about his work that's not boring whatsoever, and it's his costume design.
Oh my gosh.
Because as the director, he has to approve everything, and he must have spent a lot of time
including
in the costume department.
Specifically for the female audience or female cast, for sure. Yeah, it was a lot.
I mean, it's just like a lot of deep plunge dresses.
Some upskirt stuff too.
Yep, very short skirts.
That conveniently just kept coming up to reveal all kinds of stuff. I was like, dude, chill out, man.
It was consistent enough to be like,
come on, bro.
Not very mature of you.
No, not at all.
It's noticeable. It's distracting.
It was very distracting. It was a lot. And it's not... The thing is that he proclaims these Christian Judeo values. And that's he's a conservative, he's a conservative company that claims to be against this stuff in culture.
Right.
But then he releases his own TV show where it's like, whoa, this is like she's like full in a lake with a sheer see-through. I'm like, what the heck is going on, man? Like,
yeah, I was surprised when that scene came up. I was surprised she was wearing anything at all because she went for a dip in the lake. And I was like, well, I guess she's not going to be wearing anything. Like, it's medieval times.
It's modest. I was like, it's white. You can see through the thing, dude. But all right, whatever. Sure, okay. All that aside, whatever. Let's move on to the actual substance of the show, of which this is indicative, I guess. So within the synopsis, the show is called The Rise of the Merlin. Now, this is predating Arthur, who Merlin is supposed to be helping, if you know the Arthurian legend, but it also alludes to all this other stuff to it. But it's written by a Christian author, Stephen Lawhead. So it has a lot of Christian themes in it, which is fine. That's that's not bad necessarily. No. They leaned a little too heavily in a couple places, but the rest of the show really stumbles around a lot. I'll
give you a context for just how slow paced this is. The opening 5 minutes is just some character explaining well, in order to tell you this story, you have to tell you my story. But in order to do that, I have to tell you the story of the land. And so he gives this very long expository opening in which he says, you're going to have to understand the land so that this makes sense to you, you plebeian. And then by the time I got to the end of episode 2, I have no clue where we are or what's going on or what the connections are between the different kingdoms or whatnot.
That is
none of that made any sense. That was
weakest part of the show so far is that it is a horrible job at establishing characters and establishing where you are.
Yeah, like place
constantly
and time and circumstance. All of that's gone. There are numerous examples where characters walk into a room because they were going to have a conversation with somebody, and the person that they're going to have a conversation with is either sitting in a chair doing nothing, or they're just standing, just waiting for someone to walk in. Yeah, so they're just doing
waiting
nothing.
For you to say action.
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah, it's like a king on a throne. You'd think he's like his right hand man or his councilman is right next to him. They could be talking about something like, oh, okay, yeah, why don't you do this?
Holding an audience or war count, whatever.
Yeah, there's a map and they're discussing something, and then someone comes in. Oh, okay, now my attention's being diverted to this. No, it's just just waiting. It's like the Silence of the Lambs. You just walk in. And someone's just standing.
But at least that had a meaning.
Right, that had a point. He was a psychopath, so it made a lot more sense. It was like, oh, this is creepy. So imagine that for characters you're not supposed to think are creepy.
Right. Okay, so let's do this then. What did you like about the show? Is there any positives?
The music was actually really good.
It was really good. Agreed.
It was too much in a number of places, but that was mostly.
I think he was trying to inject energy. He's like, dude.
He was trying to help.
Give it something.
He was trying to help, tell us what this scene is supposed to mean, even though it doesn't really make sense to you.
It's not actually accomplishing it, but he'll try. He tried to aid. He's like James Newton Howard with M. Night Shyamalan.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I know Shyamalan's going to do a horrible movie, but I'm going to make this soundtrack fire, baby. This guy did the same thing. He did a great job.
Yeah.
He's like, look, boring. Do what you want to do, man. I'll deliver.
I don't care.
Yeah, I got you.
But even the songs, because the main character we're following is a bard, and he has a couple of singing songs.
Yeah,
I actually quite like those. I thought they were engaging. They were a little long. I didn't think we needed the whole song.
Right.
But
he's got a good voice.
Yeah, he has a good singing voice, and it sounded really nice. And yeah, I thought those were pretty powerful moments. Like I was kind of like, wow, there's just they got something here with that. So
Yeah.
I like that quite a
I'd
bit.
like to revisit the first song in a bit, but I think what else did you like about the show? If anything.
I think I overall like the casting. I don't think the actors are really the problem. I
No.
didn't feel like anyone was doing anything wrong. Like there were a few moments where I was like, I don't know, that take wasn't very good, but that feels more like an editing issue. There's definitely a lot of character motivations that are really confusing, but it just seems like they're not told what they're supposed to do for this to make sense.
Right.
Like there's only so much you can do with the script that you're handed. Like if this is what your character is supposed to do in this moment, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter what you do as an actor.
Right.
So but I didn't feel like it was their fault. And specifically the casting for Morgan or Morgana or whatever, perfect.
Fantastic.
She's smoking hot, which is exactly what Morgana is supposed to be.
And
She's
creepy as
as heck. Yeah, and I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want out of my Morgana.
Right.
It's just the like all the allure, but then like just like there's a scene where she like slices open this animal and just like splatters blood all over her face, and you're like, oh, like that's perfect. That's the kind of like creepy undertone for that character. So I thought that was. Like that isolated moment was good. The lead up to it didn't work, but I got what they were trying to do.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you? What did you like about the show? I'm running out.
Well, Morgana was probably my favorite. She's called Morgan in the show. Whether or not
she becomes
the name
Morgana
changes,
or something like that, or it's like her mother or something. I don't know.
She's definitely my favorite. She's a standout because she really brought it home with the character. Like, despite what the misgivings of the script and the editing might have been, like she definitely was doing a really great job. So was Taliesin, though, the first main character. He had a lot of sincerity, and so he was like really trying to put on his back anything that the show was having a hard time with. So he was doing a lot. At first, I liked Karis's character, but then I found some stuff out that added some context that made me question, so I'm a little confused there. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But one of the things
she's the Lady of the Lake, by the way.
Right.
That's Caris's
Merlin's mom.
Or
one of the things I think was standout in the beginning of the show, they had, and this is what's so confusing. I'm not trying to like throw a bunch of negatives in here, but this was so stellar. This makeup design for this god that they had.
Oh yeah.
This like horned, antlered god.
Death god kind of guy.
Was so cool looking. I was like,
yeah.
Who worked on get that guy and give him a raise? Like make him do everything in the show because he nailed that.
Yeah.
And it was everything about it. The lighting was great. The kind of vagueness with which the actions that were taken, it was just like you didn't understand what was going on, but some stuff was happening that felt very oppressive and dark. And then he was like vying for Merlin's allegiance or something.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I was like, that's great. Awesome. What is this?
Right.
And they didn't need to explain. I was like, awesome. I want to find out more as the show goes on. Fantastic. They have another scene like that when it comes to the Christian God. And I was like, okay, this is cool because like there's different forces of the world that are vying for his attention. And he makes a choice eventually. But it's cool that that's like something in the show, but it's not like the focus. And that's what was so frustrating was that didn't understand that I had to piece all that together after watching both episodes all the way through. And we're like, okay, think I'm getting what you're going for here. But then, he goes away and now we're going to another character, his son, which is fine. But I was just
getting a lot to put us through. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, dude, you shouldn't have given us this much. You really should have crammed all that into an episode. Or maybe even have us figure that out as we go. So, aside from that, I agree with you in the music.
Well, did you have another point there? Because
I don't think so. I think, yeah.
Okay, because I will say there was a scene early on in episode 2. It was really profound how both of us were like, this is working so much better. Why don't we have
It's
more
the
of
first
this?
bit in the episode 2. It's the first conversation that's had.
Yeah, and it's just Karis and her father, and he just kind of comes into like her room or a study, and she's just kind of
it's in a crypt.
Yeah,
it mentions that.
Oh, okay, I see. It was weird because there was a lot of light pouring in, so that's not what made me think it was.
Sure.
They're really fat. They love just lots of light, lots of light, a little too much light.
Yeah, darken it up.
But anyways, he comes in, and she's kind of forlorn, and then he talks to her a little bit, and they kind of express their differing views on things. Like, he sort of explains, like, our people's been ravished, like, we're Atlanteans, and our city got destroyed, and now we have a new life again. We have, like, a last chance. We're not going to soil that by getting involved in wars and things like that. And her perspective is like, oh, well, what does it matter now? She's a bit more nihilistic about the situation.
Sure.
And she doesn't know how she feels about this guy, the main guy who's very interested in her, this Bard character. And so it was just like nice to have like no music, even though the music's great. It can kind of be distracting because it's so overwhelming.
Well, I think he realized he's like, all right, well, you guys got the scene right. I'll just cut it out here.
I don't need the
rest of it. I gotta help you,
so I'll just let it play out since I'm not needed here.
Exactly.
Another mark of a good composer. But yeah, so they just have this back and forth. They kind of establish some character motivations, some dynamics.
It expressed a lot of her problems that she's dealing with internally as well, without having to like shove it in your face.
Yeah.
And I was like, who was writing this? Like, that guy, it nailed it. Like, more of that, please.
Right. And they have this kind of moment where it's like there's a mural or like a drawing on the wall of, her like jumping over this bowl, which is something that she did like back when they had their city and they worshipped Baal, the bull like god or whatever. And they had this like entertainment thing where they would go out and like jump over the bowl as it is charging at them or whatever. So very dangerous, but it's a spectacle. And so that was like a nice, and dare I say, a very cheap way to communicate her origin of something important about her. And so, you're thinking like, okay, we got to see the mural on the wall. She talks a little bit about it, or we kind of see her history. We get a little bit. That's enough. That's just enough flavor.
Nope.
But the thing is in episode 1, they did a whole scene to show us all that, and it was really bad.
Yeah.
And so now it's like you have that you didn't need, and then you had this that worked so well. So you're like, how did you not differentiate that? This cheap, efficient way was so much more effective than what you were doing before.
Yeah. Building a whole set, getting bulls, having people jumping over them and stuff. It was like, why don't you just take that out and let us figure it out through the story? I like, the character's supposed to be able to tell us enough. Like, famously, you have Game of Thrones that does that, where it doesn't tell you anything that leads up to this moment, but the story itself, like, falls into place, so you learn as you go. And that's the point.
Right.
And so it's like, if you're trying to look like it anyway, take some notes. Like, do it that way. And I'm a big fan of show versus tell, but some stories require some of that mystery in order to propel the interest. And I feel like they really misunderstood that. And I liked the backstory well enough. It's, they worship this bull god, and their sport is messing with bulls but not killing them. And I imagine that's part of the culture or something. So they're just avoiding them in some kind of like acrobatic spectator sport, and that's fine.
Yeah.
This bull comes out that's different than the other bulls, and they claim that that's their god is now come to life somehow for some reason. And then it destroys Atlantis, and she's part of the group that saves the people of Atlantis, and that's the only reason that they exist now. And like, that's all fine, that's good. You don't need to show us all that right off the bat. Like, give that to us in bits and pieces later. I mean, you get to follow her son, for goodness sakes, later. So like, why wouldn't she express that to him or something? Because the other side of it that you don't get to learn is that Merlin's father comes from no one knows where. He just floats down the river one day, so he has a mysterious past too. But they didn't feel the necessity to give all that away.
Right.
So again, like I said, it's this like, you understand some of it, but you don't understand where to put it in other places. Like, you did great on the horned god without giving us too much there, and how to show him. But in other places, like, you make it look really terrible. And that, I don't know if that's because they reshoot it or you ran out of budget or who knows. It's really strange. Like, how did you get this so right and this so wrong when they're so similar?
Yeah.
You could have like used the same. Use the same formula. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's very confusing. And like you said, it's very convoluted on how all these characters interact, where they're from, what they're doing. They tried too hard to shove too much into 2 episodes, and so a lot of it feels unearned, and that's the problem.
Yeah, because you don't really get the character interpersonal relationships with each other, and that's really an issue.
You don't sympathize very well either.
Right, exactly. So, this character that came down the river, as a baby, and then the sort of outcast of society finds him and then protects him and then raises him. And so then it does like a flash forward in time when he's an adult now, and that's all fine. But the problem is so he was the outcast who found this baby, and he takes ownership of it. And throughout that scene, there's this other guy from the village who just like resents him and is just like, oh, he's just like a curse, whatever. And he's the bully, he just rallies up the people against him. But then he's like subservient to the cursed guy.
The cursed guy becomes the king, and then that guy's like a servant now. But you don't see any of that happen.
So you're like, how did this happen? Like, how did you two restore your relationship? I'm still thinking, well, he's going to betray you at some point, right?
Sure.
And it's like that never comes up. That's never a thing. And I'm like, well, it needs to be a thing because otherwise, why did you show it to us? Like,
why did that exist at all?
Yeah, why have this extra ancillary character who means nothing? And there's this like old wise character who allegedly trains the main guy, Taliesin. Yeah, trains him like magic songs, basically. And that's not explained. That's not shown. You don't know what his relationship is with his mentor whatsoever. I mean, Taliesin is never just like, he never has a moment where he goes, but I'm not like everyone else, am I?
Right.
Like, and kind of has to reconcile with that. It's like, well, dude, you got like bright blonde hair. Nobody else around you has that.
Right.
You have weird, mysterious origins. That's kind of odd, too. I feel like we can ask some questions about where we come from now that we're hitting like 20-something.
Sure.
Maybe now is a good time to kind of stop and contemplate.
Explore those mysteries, shall we?
It's like Lion. Like, go back to that movie. That's not a very good movie, by the way, but at least add
What
that.
is it, Lion?
Yeah, it's about this guy. It's based on a true story, and he basically gets separated from his family, I think in India or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then he ends up being adopted when he's real young. But there's a great scene in that movie where, and it truly is a great scene because the rest of it I don't think is good at all. But this one moment where he's like in college or something, and he goes over to his professor's having like some kind of like gathering, and they're gonna have food or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, come hang out." So he comes to do that, and then he goes into the kitchen and he's prepared some like dish that was from his hometown. And he's just kind of like laughing and stuff, and then he like sees it and smells it, and then he just has this like mental breakdown almost. Because he's get flooded with memories of his childhood. And it's just like, wait a minute, where did I come from? Oh. And so then it starts him down on a path. But I thought that was such a powerful moment because it was like, ooh, yeah, like, gosh, like you go through life as a kid not really stopping and thinking about this stuff. And then at some point, something reminds you of it, and then you can't remove yourself from it.
Sure.
So like that would have been an important thing for this character to go through. He just doesn't seem to give a crap about any of that.
No. And
people could just do magic just because, and it was like, well, why doesn't everybody learn some magic? Like, I want to learn. This seems helpful.
Right. Like we could, if we had more of us doing this, we could solve a lot more problems, it seems.
But we don't really have problems now that I think about it. So maybe I don't really care.
Okay. On that, I kind of want to just throw this in here now.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the rest of our notes here. This is tough. It's tough to pull this apart because it's so discombobulated. This whole thing, these 2 episodes.
Oh, it's a mess.
It's so messy. They should have followed one character and then had the world kind of expound around him. And this I guess is like an early HolmFront fixes before the end of the show because it's just it's in my head at the moment. So what I think they should have done, guy pulls the thing out of the water. He brings it back to the village. This should have been like there's the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Did you watch that movie?
No, just bits and pieces.
So there's the young son that runs out to beyond his borders in order to get the eagle eggs that he's not supposed to get because otherwise he's not going to make it to this ceremony or whatever. So he takes his friends and goes out and he does this dangerous thing. I think
it's like a rite of passage thing he has to do. Yeah.
So the outcast / cursed kid should do that on his own.
Yeah.
He goes out and he gets the prize and he brings it back. He's like, I've gotten the prize, but this is what it is, and it's this baby. So now you've established a mystery. You don't have to have all this weird interaction. He just comes back, and he's almost rejected because he does this. But then he can earn his way in, and the way I would do that is now you jump forward a couple years. You have Taliesin studying under this like magic guy. Maybe he sees some promise in him or whatever.
Sure.
Then you have the cursed guy come in and explain how he's starting to take control because he's the king's son. He's like, I'm learning, blah, 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 and like, you need to be less weird, no more magic or whatever.
Because you're going to have to take over for me or something like that.
Yeah, do you really think this is the best use of your time? Whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that
yeah.
now the cursed guy is trying to now conform.
Well, that sounds like there'd be internal conflict.
Sorry,
I don't know about this.
my bad. But then Taliesin could be like, well, I want to follow my father, but I have this gift and I want this to be useful.
Yeah.
So then that would be
straightforward story. We could do
exactly. And then what I would have is go like super classical. And I understand he's following a book, so this is a little tough because you got to follow the source material to some extent.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm just removing it all together, I would have like a band of outraiders or something come through and destroy the village. Like, go full on Conan with this thing. Like, kills all the villagers and his father and stuff, and now he has to, like, find his own way on his own. You know? Like, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, hero's journey to the max.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then he goes and meets the Atlanteans, falls in love, and births Merlin.
Okay.
That's how I would do this.
Okay.
Just, like, remove all the fluff, remove all the fat. Like, this is too convoluted, too confusing.
Right.
You need something classical. You need something that people are going to like.
Right.
2 episodes of people being confused is going to remove a huge part of your audience. It doesn't matter what the source material is. You're going to cut them out. You're already fighting an uphill battle, man.
Right.
This is a conservative network. You're already hedging out your audience. If they don't like this on episode 1, going to lose most of them, and you're not going to justify a season 2.
Right.
So anyway, go ahead.
I think that's a good approach. I agree with that to some extent. I think my interest does lean more towards the Lady of the Lake character.
Yeah, of course.
Karis. And also in part because she's going to be an important character throughout the whole thing, I think, because she ages much longer than the other characters because she's Atlantean. So she'll be around for more of the show. Now, the one pitfall I would be concerned about is I wouldn't want the audience to think she's the main character too much if I already have a main character that we're following. But then again, this is a TV show, so I think I would probably say, let's just embrace that. She will also be a lead character.
Sure.
And we'll have 2, basically, or 3, because you want, a couple that you want to be following in a TV show.
So would you have it focus on her, and then this community comes in, and that's when she meets Taliesin, rather than going through Taliesin's whole backstory?
Yeah, I would say his whole backstory isn't important to me.
Okay.
I would instead go with her, and I would want to establish a better understanding of what the Atlantean culture and belief system is like, what their interpersonal relationship, like her relationship with her sister, especially because her sister is very young, the Morgan character. So she can be like a playful, good-spirited person who becomes evil much further down the line.
Sure.
That would be a nice kind of, we would have
with like
an
a sinister streak.
Yeah, she's maybe a bit mischievous, and that seems endearing to us until we see the darker element of how that can manifest in other ways, right? So I would play a little bit with that. I would want to figure out, have a rock-solid understanding of her family, and her beliefs or whatever.
Including her father, yeah.
And like her father, the king, and all of that stuff. And then the forging of the sword would be very important to me. So I would kind of establish all of that stuff. I would not do the scene that they did with the whole bull scene.
Oh,
it
no.
It was just executed so badly.
That
so
was not good
we're
looking.
cutting that. That's gone. We're going to do something else.
Chop it out.
Instead, to show the destruction of Atlantis. I would probably make it a little more mystical. But anyways, once that is done with, I would have the outsider come in and the bard to play his song, kind of like how he did. And then that resurfaced memories for her of like her feeling guilty in some way. She felt like she resented, like she refused, like the god was asking too much of her, and she was like, well, F you, I don't have to listen to that.
Right.
And then he destroyed the city. That's how she interpreted it, is that like, oh, like I killed the god and then we didn't have anything to hold this structure together. That it's my fault now. And so, I would want to make sure that her understanding of that is very clear. But see, the trouble is that even if I fixed all of that, there's still the issue of how this romance comes together, because that's just clunky as
well,
and we gotta fix that.
We do have to fix it. It was not done well. I would say I really liked what they were going for.
Yes, the intention is good. So the source material is probably good.
Probably. So when he sings the song, it brings back her memories of Atlantis. And I was like, okay, this is a good connection point. Great.
Especially because he is Atlantean, so he would be able to do that.
That was my assumption. We don't know if that's true.
So he has the blonde hair just like the rest of them.
Sure. Because of his mysterious past, probably. Anyway, so when he's in there and that happens, he's such a puppy dog that it's easy for him to fall in love with, the first hot chick he sees.
Yeah.
So when she runs off and he's feels like he's the one that caused that emotion, he can still run after her. And then she's going to be resentful because he's the one that sang the song. So it's not going to be
and she doesn't want to share her feelings with this loser.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a rejection. And then he's going to chase that down until, like, it's pretty basic, but at least it's something, right? So we get a little bit of that. But what we get is, like, part of her, like, rejects him completely. And the other part of her is like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll give you this. It's like, which one is it, dude? Like, even the scene where they, like, fall in love, she's like trying to get away from him, and then
she's like, get away from me, and like shoving him off and stuff.
Her arm, and then she's like, fine, we're gonna kiss now. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Where did this come from?
So bad. Like in a previous scene, so he sneaks up on her when she goes down to the lake.
And he knows she's bathing.
Right.
Her sister is like, she's going down there to bathe alone. And
her sister is saying this in such a way as to be like, try to sabotage the relationship. So she's like, oh, she's going to be bathing. And she's not going to want anyone to sneak up on her. But this is exactly where she is. So she's clearly like, go there, get my sister mad at you so that breaks off. And then I can swoop in and get you.
But this moron who would not have done this goes and sneaks up on her. I'm like, why if you know she's why would you sneak up on her?
Right.
Why wouldn't you like yell out like, hey, I'm coming to talk? Like, why are you, he's like creeping through the woods, like trying to peek. I was like, what are you doing? You're not this guy.
Right.
What is wrong with you? And but that's what he wants to build a relationship off. I was like.
And then she understandably gets super mad at him for that.
Right.
Oh, who would have saw that coming? Yeah. So then we're like, okay, so she's mad. So we're off on the wrong foot now again. So then he goes to see her.
On the wrong foot. Anyway.
Yeah. So then he goes to see her and like hunts her down and is like, oh, I have your boots. You left them at the lake or whatever. And she's like all annoyed.
He says
like,
it weird too. He's like, I thought you'd have been barefoot because you left your. I'm like, what? Just say that she has other shoes, man. She's a princess. Just like, hey, I got your shoes. Here you go.
Yeah, and so when he offers the shoes, it's like that's enough. She should just take them and leave. Right. She wants her shoes back.
Yeah, it's just a peace offering. Accept
exactly.
the peace offering. Move on.
Right. I accept this. Thank you. Go away now, you stupid puppy.
Right.
But instead, she's like, and then like he puts like the shoe on her foot. And
he takes her sandal off and then slides the boot. It's so like weirdly intimate. And I was like, she's got this like disgusted, angry face that she's just like staring down at him. I was like, so are you okay with this, or is this something you don't want to do? Because I'm cool if you don't want to do it. I don't want you to do this. This is weird. I'm uncomfortable. Please stop. No more of this.
Yeah, so then I was thinking to myself, I was like, all right, well, there's no way a woman wrote this because it clearly just seems like this Jeremy Boring person doesn't understand women at all.
Right.
But then episode 2 was co-written
by that character.
By that character, the actress.
Right.
So now I'm even more confused. I'm like, okay, so she thinks that this makes sense to her. And I'm like,
how? This is not how romance works. What are you talking about?
That was just a mess.
It was so messy.
An absolute mess. And like the whole thing about it was not to throw any shade on anybody, because it's very clear all the female actresses are smoking hot, and that was a big priority for them in the casting
in
decision,
a very specific way, by the way.
Very specifically, yes. So anyways, this is important though, because the Morgan character is just like, whoa, she's a looker. And this main guy, what was it? Taliesin. He's super interested in the older sister, but the young girl, he's just like, whatever. I was like,
yeah, he rejects her hardcore for it's really mean for no reason right out the gate.
He just friend zones her as hard as he possibly can.
That, it's like, yeah, it's good to meet you, friend. I was like, you have to make that a little bit less subtle there, dude. Like, geez.
And then he's just simping after her sister super hard. I'm like, for one, there's no integrity in what this character is doing.
Sure.
So if anything, he should be trying to trying to create a good connection with the younger sister to be like, oh, well, like obviously they're sisters. She's important to her too. So I'll just try to be a nice person. Or he's just genuine and he just wants to be nice to people. That's just kind of how he is. That would be fine too. However it is, that's what's supposed to happen. And then Morgan can be...
It's because, so not to cut you off, but it's too aggressive, all of it. It's too aggressive. Like the first thing that the sister Morgana does is like, he helps her with some menial task, and she's just like, "We're in love now." And I was like, "Whoa, chill. You could have accomplished this with like a look or something. Been like, that was really cool. He's really hot. I might be interested in this. Like, maybe I'll chase this down. And it might be a little more aggressive than average, but like the first thing she does is like grab his hand. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Instead of that, maybe
chill.
she could ask to like, see him like
sure.
in a kind of playful,
and then
flirty
he could
sort
just
of way.
Stumble away like completely. I gotta go. Like, something that
would happen if someone of his stature was in the presence of a woman of that stature.
Exactly. Yes. and then run after, and then she finds out that he's interested in her sister or something, and maybe that's like a small divide that becomes larger later.
Yes.
Instead, it's all or nothing right up front. Like, whoa, everybody need to calm down. Like you guys never seen someone of the opposite sex before.
Right.
But it's written by Jeremy Boring.
Yeah. Well, and you have the scene. I forget it's before or after, but there's some older guy. He's like a chancellor or something in the king's court. They never explain.
That's right.
But then Morgan is trying to get like with him. I think this comes beforehand.
He's like some sorcerer character or something. He's like carrying staff and stuff. Yeah.
I guess he didn't do anything, but whatever.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get with him. She's for some reason
like hardcore. Like
way too much. And then he's just like, "Oh, you're just like after power.
Be gone from me, thought."
Yeah, and I was like, for one, why are you saying no to this woman? Are you out of your mind? And then, like, so she wants power. Big deal. Let her have it. Whatever. Okay, it's not like you're going to have plenty of options. I mean, you're lucking out big time.
You got like 10 minutes before you're dead. So, anyway.
So, like, your logic makes zero sense to me, but whatever. So then he, just, you're disgusting. Why don't you get off of me or whatever? Which is like the king's daughter. None of that made sense. But he tells us, like, you're just power hungry. And that's it. That's what we have to verify that she's power hungry. And I was like, I see no evidence of this. She's trying to take care of her horse who's, like, suffering because she has, like,
and that's what Taliesin. It's a little bit more blatant, I guess, with the advisor sorcerer character. But even that.
Yeah, well, that's fine because she's just trying to get into his pants to get something out of him. With Taliesin, she wants like more than that. She wants him to be loyal to her.
But what I'm saying is that there's nothing that guy has that you've been shown that makes it abundantly clear that that's what she's after.
Right.
You just know that he's carrying a staff, so you assume that there's probably some kind of magic thing going on here, but you don't know.
Right.
So it would have been nicer if the guy had expressed clearly what he could give to her or what problem he had with that interaction. Mm-hmm. So if he had been like, if the king finds out about this, he's going to kill us both. Get away from me. Or something.
Right.
Well, as it's shown, it seems like he knows something we don't, and he's just using his integrity. Which makes it worse later in the show because they go in and they're like, "You're a snake whispering words into the king." I'm like, what did this guy do? He didn't say anything. Like, he's not like some Grima Wormtongue. He actually seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, saying no to the hot girl for good reason. And then he's like actually kind of advising the king fairly well when he's shown up. So like when she comes in, she's like, "You snake." I'm like, whoa. What did he do?
And mind you, the person who calls him a snake is the older sister,
right?
Who doesn't know about any of this. So if it was Morgan, that would have made way more sense because she would have been like, I'm just resentful of you because you didn't give me what I wanted.
Right.
So you're a snake now.
It's
like
a Pharaoh's wife situation. There.
Yeah.
It's like he rejected me, so he tried to rape me or whatever. Like, then it makes sense.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
I would have been into that. That would have been like, oh, man,
if you're going biblical, you might as well use something like that. But whatever, sure. Yeah. So... Like I said, there's so many confusing like you have good threads. It's so clearly someone competent was in there somewhere, probably with the source material. They're throwing the good writing things in there, but then they weren't delivering properly. Constantly.
Yeah, because she ends up wanting this stone that he has. I'm
Which
assuming
was awesome, by the way.
in his possession. Yeah, that was really cool because she can see into it and see like what other characters are doing.
Right. She's like spying on Taliesin. Like,
that
was great. I was
like, that's so cool. That's something she would do.
Right. This is classic fantasy. That's like Disney right here, but cool. All right.
But that happened after. So it was like,
right.
Is that what you wanted? Was the stone? And then he lets her have it. She just walks out with it. I was like, are you going to let her take that magic stone?
They should have flipped
that. Seemed pretty valuable.
That's a good point. She should have done that first.
Yeah.
And that's how he knows now that what she's after. Because then when she tries to go and seduce him, he's like, I remember what you were doing in my room the other day.
Right.
You can't know. Get away from me. Because now you see what he has to offer and what she wants, and it's clearly not him.
And also, this would make a great character to be the fall of something, so she can exert her power and influence to take him down, and then we could be like, man, Morgana's conniving.
Right.
You got to be careful
she,
around
like,
her.
takes his spot and banishes or kills him or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Be awesome.
Like, he was fine and noble, and then she was just like,
Yep.
I
Brings
brought
him
down
down.
through my words of deception. That'd have been so cool, and they just blew that.
They did.
Completely.
It's a blown opportunity for the most part. A lot of this show is blown.
Yeah, so it was rough.
It was. But the music's really good.
Yeah, the production design's all over the map. The music's good. The costuming, as salacious as some of it is actually
not bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
And then especially that one guy, the makeup for the
horned god
looking horned god guy, he was cool. What was with that, by the way? Taliesin, he picks up this dagger, and then he has a vision with this horned god and this like trial, and he's like these people in this vision have him like stab somebody, and he's like freaks out, and he's like, oh, get that away from me. But then like the next time he picks up a sword, he has like this other vision. And so then it became this weird theme where I was like, are you okay over there? You're starting to look like a Macbeth person where he's like, I can't help myself. I'm holding a sword. I gotta put it in somebody.
Yeah, just stop touching weapons, man.
Chill out. You stay away from that. Know your limits, sir.
You discovered your problem, please. Why have you caught on yet? Yeah. Yeah, the second one at least was what I believe to be Excalibur. So at least, like, given the lore of, Arthur, I could understand that. But
yeah.
But it's like every weapon he touches. It's like oh no! Like, stop touching them.
Yeah, it's so all over the place with its production values. Like, there's one scene where there's this huge battle going on.
Oh no! Yeah.
And Taliesin and his wizard companion, they like hold up their staves and they create this like foggy mist to come in,
sure,
to, like break up the fighting.
It's fine.
But they talk for like 5 minutes just watching this battle.
There's a battle going on below. Huge army sitting up on the hill, like Gandalf style, with the Rohirrim.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, you know what? Let them handle their stuff first. We'll come in after.
I'm gonna have a drink.
Yeah, they're like, we shouldn't. I don't know. Should we help? How you been doing? How are the kids? How's the dog? Is everything going all right with you? Like, how's it going in your side of the king? I'm like, go.
Why aren't you here? Like, are you not here to
right
contribute to the fighting so that it stops, so that your side can win?
The worst part about it, I think, was the fact that Merlin and his companion get down, they create all this fog, and then they charge. I'm like, what are you charging into? You have no idea you can't see anything going down the hill. You have no idea who you're going to be hitting when you get down there. How are you going to distinguish your friends from your foes? Like, this didn't help anything.
But it looked cool.
I guess. Sure. Yeah, whatever.
Which is a saving grace, because there was this shot looking at the battle from afar that looked really bad.
Really bad. Yeah. They did a wide
really
shot of
bad.
the castle, and for some reason it was like, how did this look terrible?
Because
you have other
VFX
shots that
awful.
were similar that didn't look that bad. So I was like, what happened here? Why this one?
Yeah.
But there was a couple moments like that. One of them was Karis when she's like, they're both standing here and they have like a shot behind her back.
Oh,
and you can clearly tell, you can see the line where she's standing in front of the green screen or whatever, and the bull is like comped in. Ugh. That was really bad. There's a couple moments like that where it's like, you guys are reaching beyond your ability here, and you just shouldn't have. Like, there's no reason to have done this, but you did it anyway. But I digress.
Yeah. So it was rough. It was an ordeal.
Yes.
To be put through.
It was a very vocal session of watching 2 episodes.
And that's always a bad sign when you're just talking over it and you're like, okay, come on, get a move on.
Which is, most of my commentary was just like, do something, like anything, please progress the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these moments weren't. Specifically when characters were talking. And you brought this up. It was just so static. There's nothing happening. There's nothing like progressing anything. It's just they're going to sit in 2 very static locations and just shoot back and forth. Yeah. And it's like, you don't want to like move around the room or like give some angles here or maybe have something else going on. Like, one of the things I think about is there's a couple of Game of Thrones episodes where they'll come into a tent, and in the tent something's going like a war council or something. So they have a map, and they're going over the map on the table. And as they come in, they've got to like scatter the pieces of the map so that whoever comes in doesn't see their plan for what's going on.
Right.
So it's very like kinetic. Now you're like, oh, what were they doing on that map that we can't see? Or like, what's this guy seen that he might go and share later?
Yeah.
So it already adds in some tension before anything is said.
Right.
And then they start to talk. So now you have the characters that might be too abrupt and brash that come forward to like stand in front of him so that they, you can't see past him.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might like push him around. And maybe that spy character or whatever is a little bit more timid. So he's been pushed into this situation without like, he doesn't want to be here, but he's here.
Right.
He's like, look, I'm part of the family, so this is something I got to do. I don't want to be. Please don't kill me. I don't want to be here. So like, there's a layered source of tension here that then you can allow your characters to bleed the rest of the thing through. So like, you'll have Robb Stark come forward and be like, look, I know you don't want to be here. I'm going to be the honorable guy. I'm going to let you go back to your family, tell them to quit doing this. And so now you're like, okay, you've established something about Robb. You've established something about his opponents. You've established something about his followers. All of this happens within a brief moment.
Right.
Awesome. When this happens, you come in, people are just sitting there like, like, all right, not going to have any discussions. Like, what's going on? Like, do you just sit there all day?
Yeah, like the king was cracking me up.
The Atlantean king.
Every time you saw him, apart from that one scene we complimented earlier, every other scene, he's just sitting in his throne, just doing nothing.
Nothing.
And like
the worst one was when Karis leaves.
Yeah.
He finds out the news and he's just like, well,
he's just like,
guess I'll just sit here and contemplate harder now. Like,
I mean, he's got a lot of he has a lot of chairing to do. I mean, when he goes to bed and wakes up at night, I mean, who's going to warm his throne? He's got to get on the job.
Yeah.
Sit down.
I only want 2 minutes of cold buttery, all right? I don't want and I don't want that guy warming my chair again, okay? He gets it too warm and then it's hot in the morning. I hate that. I hate that so much. I don't like sharing butt warmth. I'm going to come in and warm it myself. And if I get up from it, it gets cold again.
It's this constant battle I have to deal with.
It's my chair. I made it, and it's my chair. It says that I'm king, and I want to be king all the time. When I leave the chair, I'm not king anymore. Yeah, it's like, just look, what are you doing in the chair, dude? At least I'm going to do it again, since he wants it to be Game of Thrones so bad. When the characters are in the throne, it's for a reason.
Right.
It's because that is a symbol of authority, and it's when they are doing authoritative stuff.
Right.
When Daenerys is sitting there and people are bringing forth problems, she is dictating these things. So like that's
she doesn't just hang out on her throne.
It's not just like, well, there are characters that do that, but that's what they are doing, right?
Right.
There's a scene where Jaime is sitting in the chair and someone comes in and questions him about it, or Littlefinger's sitting in the chair, and it's like, what are you doing? You're just imagining yourself in that chair, and yes, he is. That's why he's there.
Right.
But
it says something about that character then.
Right. And so there's depth. But with this guy, he's just like, I got
hanging
nowhere else to be. Like, your daughter ran off. Go get her.
Well, that was the whole thing, because it's implied that Morgan tells him this, and he just goes like, and then you see her in the background, and he broods over it. And then she's the one who goes out and does something about it. So I was like, so why?
He actually offers peace off screen. That was worse.
Oh, yeah. That was
sends messengers to be like, he wants peace now, and you're a king. Stole his daughter, dude. What?
Yeah, I didn't even catch that until you brought it up. So yeah, it's worse.
But yes, then Morgan does something about it. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Well, no, that was just the point, was that like you show this character sitting there as if he's going to do something and then does nothing. But you're right, it's worse than nothing, because he's like, oh, I guess I just adapt now.
Right.
And it's like,
so I'll just give you stuff for that.
I guess.
Yeah.
I have to say, there is one other element too I do want to poke at, but it's going to require I let my liberal side out a little bit. Are you okay with that?
I don't care.
Okay, so Taliesin has this encounter where he goes up to this, I guess it's a church. It looked nothing like it. It looked like an igloo with like a couple of crosses carved into the sides.
Right.
So if you consider that a church, then by all means. I don't really in the traditional sense, but sure. So then he goes up there, and then it's like, this flash of light comes, and he's like, and then he has like some vision that we don't get to see.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, I've seen like the one true God. And then he just goes on this like massive like evangelical rampage.
Right.
Where it's just like he's trying to like convert people to it.
He goes into a whole like tirade about it later. He's like, I see a land where everyone follows this God. And I'm like, what did you see? what? I think what they're going for, like I said, there's a couple of stark biblical references, like clearly referencing like Moses, for instance, in the beginning with the thing like going down the stream and stuff. This one I think is like a Paul thing. But here's the thing about that is that he's Saul first, and Saul persecutes and kills Christians.
Right.
He's riding along the road. I think he's going to Damascus or something. And then he gets a vision of God.
The flash of light.
And it kicks him off his horse. He goes catatonic, basically. And then
he's blind for a while.
And he switches up his whole worldview.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to do. But in
this guy
order to do that, you have to show what he sees. And it's got to be world-changing. But the thing is, he's not even like on a dark, evil path at the moment. He hasn't chosen an allegiance. He's already idealistic and like, I want to fight for good no matter what. And it's like, what are you fighting for? He's, I don't know, but something. And then the God shows up and he's like, that's the one. And like,
but
why?
He's the same person before and after the experience.
Exactly.
Right.
Nothing
so
changes.
then it seemed like it diminished the value of what this exposure was, whatever it was. And then like to make matters worse, he basically like convinces Karis to marry him because again, we're trying to read into the lines of the actress and the way she communicates them, and everything she's telling us is that she's uncomfortable and she doesn't want to be with this guy and it feels forced and she doesn't believe in it and on and on and on. So then she like whips around and like kisses him and we're like, okay, I guess. And then at some point you were like, we have to let this go. Clearly the intent.
I couldn't. I was like, why are they in love? What happened here? I just like, there was nothing here. She just kisses him at one point and it doesn't look like she's really into it. But then it was like, well, maybe she's like breaking away from her. She's so resistant, right? She's like, well, I had this past and that's who I am now. Like, it's written in stone and I can't get away from it. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I want to love you anyway. And finally she's like, I'll give in. And she kisses it like he doesn't make the move at all. And I think that was their way of really showing that it's not him like forcing himself on her. So I was like, okay, but I don't understand why. Right. There's no reason why she would have done that at all.
Right.
But she does it. And it's like, all right, I guess we can work from here. But then that's it. They're in love now. It's like, this should have been a first step where she's like, I don't know why I did that. I'm going to run off. And she's got to figure it out.
At the very least.
Figure it out. She's just like, I love him, Father. I'm like, you don't know anything about this guy.
Right.
Nothing.
Right. Yeah, it's like we needed small steps to work up to. Because when you just slingshot us forward to the end zone, then it started to get worse and worse and worse. Because then he's like, she's like, oh, like my father doesn't want me leaving the palace, and like Taliesin is like, well, let's just like run away together and stuff. And so he has her
a little weird.
Abandon her whole life, her whole family, everything.
Disregard her father's wishes.
And then he's like, oh, by the way, like I'm a hardcore Christian now, so we can't be together until we're married.
Yeah, no sexy time.
And she's
None of
like,
that. Let's go get married tonight, and then sexy time.
And then, true to her character, she says, well, I freaking killed a god, so I don't really share these same beliefs.
And then he destroyed Atlantis.
With
he killed my people.
Right.
So I don't like gods at all.
And he's like, well, you can't be with me unless like you're going to be a part of this. And then she's like, well, I guess I love you. So, and he's like, well, you can trust me. And she's like, well, I guess I'll do that. I was like, oh, this is sick. And now he's manipulating her.
Yeah. And then he's like, you have to get baptized in order to get the...
That was the worst.
Well,
I was like, dude, now you're going to force her to convert to your religion?
Don't like.
That's so wrong.
Don't like.
So it was just layers and layers upon wrong that the team clearly had no concept of what they were doing.
Right.
So that's what I mean by like my liberal sign coming out, because I'm just like, it was just so disrespectful to her agency. And I was like, she wouldn't...
And to religion in general. Like, that's not what Christianity's about.
Yeah.
We don't tell him you got to convert to marry me. What?
You follow this.
Yeah. You started by disrespecting your father. You stole her away from her home. You're like, let's go out the window and go get married so we can have sex. And also, before all this happens, you got to get baptized, okay? Like, baptism's a choice. Like, that's your profession of faith. Not you're like, all right, I'll do this for this guy. That's not what that's about. What?
Yeah, because it would mean something totally different to her.
Right.
So why put her through that? And I will say, it does forced as it is, it does lead to an interesting moment.
Sure.
Because when she's submerged underwater, she goes into this like memory of sorts, and she's underwater, and like the city of Atlantis is drowning, and she has like a rope around her ankle, and so she takes Excalibur, cuts the rope, and then uses it to submerge out of the water. And I was like, okay, well, this is a very cool moment. I'm happy to have this.
Right.
Because it's a very Lady of the Lake thing to do.
Yeah.
I just don't like how it had to be coded around this.
Right.
Excuse me, around Christianity, because I'm just like, what does any of that have to do with like Lady of the Lake storyline? That just feels like it's way out of place.
So I don't mind the baptism being the catalyst, but you're right. I wanted more agency
I want her
from
character
her.
to make more sense why she's doing it.
Right.
Even if what she's doing is like, well, I don't believe in it. I don't give a crap. Whatever. But I'm doing it for him. Like, if there was some way she communicated to us that, like, she's just like, oh, well, this is ridiculous. But instead, she goes in with, like, sincerity. And I was like, why are you going in sincerely?
Right.
You just
You've
said
already
you're
said you
not
hate
comfortable with this. So now I'm getting mixed signals.
Yep.
Ugh.
Which was her whole character. Mixed signals. I just call her mixed signal the character. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was good. I was like, this is interesting foreshadowing. I like how he's connecting all the lines. But man, that was uncomfortable. This is not how I want relationships to look.
Yeah, it's like, it's not how I wanted the story arc to come together. It's not how I wanted really any of the storylines to come to fruition. So, yeah, it's just rough. I am vaguely curious to see what happens now that, like you said, things are focusing in on a singular character
Agreed.
and a singular cast, and we're just moving forward now with the story. So I'm like, okay, that could be interesting. But I have to say, the last time I gave a show that was questionable a second chance, I was burned really bad.
What show was that?
Alien Earth.
Oh, no.
That was my idea to continue watching, and
Right.
I really regret
jerk.
that. So bad.
That was rough. That was a rough slog. Well,
yeah,
I'd say let's give it one more episode when episode 3 comes out.
Sure. I don't know if we're going to talk about it, though, because if there's not much to say, we'll just drop it. But
Yeah,
if there
we'll
is
drop
something to say, maybe it'll be entertaining, perhaps.
We'll see. Drop in the comments what you think if you want to hear further thoughts. And if you like the show. Sorry if you did. Not impressed. And I wanted to like it. I did. I was like, look, for what it's worth, I think it's cool that they're trying to delve into other endeavors.
Sure.
That's not a bad thing, but you have to let creativity be the guide. Like, you have to build it for creativity's sake. You can't let other objectives dictate the story. I think that's what happens with Stranger Things, and that's why it tanked in the end. Like, when you let outside factors be the determining factor for how your story is told, it's going to falter.
Right.
So it's not going to be a true story. So,
yeah, it's like, it's not about your politics. It's about the heart of the story.
right.
And, if you compare with something like Last Kingdom, that show does a really great job of just showing the different religions that people have. There's the pagans, and then there's the Christians. And those are the two demographics that you have.
And even with those, you have different sects within them.
Right. And it just kind of, and there's some characters who are just like total loons in their religion, and then others that are just so much more level-headed, and everything in between. And so it makes that show's world just seem so much more authentic and real, because it's just all the complexities is available to us, and we just pick and choose as is necessary for particular groups of characters.
Right.
And so then it just shows it to you, and it doesn't feel the need to preach if anyone is correct or whatever. And this one felt like that was breaching through, where they were just like, oh, it's like she should like submit to her man and just trust him. And it was just like, this is gross. He's asking her to do something that he shouldn't be asking.
Right.
And you ought to know better as freaking adults. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just kind of like it just didn't feel like they had the capacity to just let that go.
Right.
And I think that was where it really just like, I don't know. I didn't like that part at all.
Nope. Didn't either. Agreed. Well, should we end on a positive note? Music is really good.
Music was great. Yeah.
Great.
We did rail on this one pretty hard, and it's like, I do agree with you. There were good things in it. They were just so isolated. And I was like, I wish this project had been given to someone else. That's what it made me feel.
That's fair. Yeah, the fact that he was writing and directing it, it's like, maybe you should have given one of those jobs to someone else. Just take one. Something.
Or just, I didn't think he was good at either one, to be honest with you.
Fair.
So maybe just not him. I'm not saying he's the sole person responsible, but I mean, he's the director and he's the writer. I'm like, you have the two most crucial aspects to make this story come from the start to the end
right
in a certain way, and like it's all a mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll see what episode 3 brings, and we'll go from there. If not, then we'll just call it a loss and move on.
Yeah.
So
nice try.
Nice try, Daily Wire. Maybe next time. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.